This is our chance to comment on stuff that's going on in the news, cool, interesting cases, weird, sick, twisted, whatever. But we get a chance to give you our perspective on it and just have some fun. And that's why we call it Law and Disorder. We live in a broken world filled with broken people, and some of them are on public display. So we're going to talk about them, but we'll be right back in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. Okay, are we back?
We're here, baby. We're here.
We are back. And today we're going to talk about two top headline cases, two things going on. Everybody knows about them, but do you know what we think about them, right, Tom?
You know, when you look at highlighted cases and high profile cases, these are two that stand out. And for all the wrong reasons.
Exactly.
It just shows you where we're at in in the media today and what's important and what just sells and all that. And let's kick it off with Diddy. We got Diddy, Sean Combs, and Karen Read that we're going to talk about tonight. So let's start off with Mr. Combs. What do you think, Dan?
Sean Puffy, Diddy, Puff Daddy, whatever the hell his name is, Combs, is a guy that has been flirting with the edges of absurdity for most of his public life. I have had little to no regard for him because I happen to know some insider baseball on him. But this case is one of those cases that, and it's the same with the second case, the Karen Read case. The media loves a crime of the century, right? They always want to have a spectacular case because it sells. It sells papers, it gets advertising time, all this kind of stuff, because people want to hear about these cases. They're excited about it because it's titillating. There's all kinds of, dirty, crazy stuff, and it gives us a peek into the world of different people. This case is slimy. It's kind of one where you watch something on the news about it. I need to take a shower, right? It's disgusting, the stuff he's alleged to have done.
Yeah, and it's not made up. See, that's the crazy thing. It's not a script. It's not a movie. It's legit. Like, all this stuff happened. And throughout the years, Dan, we've heard, especially where we were, you heard the rumors, you heard the innuendos, all that about him and what was going on. And, but it was one of those, well, no one's going to touch him. He's one of those. But then, you know what? People don't realize this. And this is why, I wanted to do this show, because there's so much of what we know and what we've dealt with over the years that people don't know. And I just want to start with this, and you're going to jump right on it because you've done it too. The Southern District of New York, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District is the most powerful, strongest in this country. There's no one even close.
That's right.
To the power that they have. And that office doesn't bring a jaywalking case unless they know it is a slam dunk and they got you.
Right.
They are not going to do it. And when all those indictments started to come down on Combs and what they had and what they were doing, it was like, oof.
Yeah.
Ooh, because you know them, Dan. They are.
Oh, yeah.
They are aggressive and at your throat. And that's the first thing, just want to get through to people. They don't do anything just to do it.
Right. This is not an attention or publicity grab by that office. That office gets all the attention and publicity it can handle and then some because of where they're located and the nature of the cases that come across their desk. But having worked there for years on a regular basis, 2, 3, 4 times a week, I was there for probably 6 or 7 years working on cases with U.S. attorneys. They are very meticulous. They're very, very thorough. And when they got you, they got you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. So let's dissect it a little of what we got. The human trafficking, and all that is the highlight of it, and the RICO of it. And I want you to, because you've done it so often, just go into explain what RICO is. We both worked on them. Worked on one together. But just a quick overview of what it is, Danny.
Sure. The indictment against him charges him with the first count is the RICO conspiracy. RICO, R-I-C-O, stands for Racketeer Influenced Corrupt Organizations Act. signed into law by President Nixon in 1971 or 72, I believe. And what it does is it enables the federal government to go after criminal organizations for a pattern of criminal activity involving certain types of crime. It's an organized crime type thing. And that criminal activity can be among a Cosa Nostra family. It can be among Combs and his cohorts in his business. And that's what they went after. They went after that because it fell under that category. So the first charge is the RICO conspiracy, criminal enterprise with others doing certain illegal activities. And they name those out. The second charge is the sex trafficking, which is moving people around for the purpose of having them engage in commercial sex acts. That's how it's written. Using threats, coercion, and violence to force these women to do that. The third is the transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, here's what happens when you think, nobody can touch you in certain types of crime. Take a crime across a state line and watch an aggressive government come after you. Because once you move people across state lines, you're right in their crosshairs, and that's what he did. He moved people around to use them in such a way, and that is a federal crime. And it's not a joke. The sentencing for this, he could face the rest of his life with no parole in a little tiny room someplace. And that's what the government's going after.
Right. And I think the most important part of the description that you laid out, and we're going to get into the particulars of the trial and what's been going on and witnesses and all that. But the one thing that you said in your description of it that people don't get is in between each description of the crime is an or, not and, not only if, not that, or. And the biggest thing when it comes to Sean Combs is the extortion part and the fear part and the intimidation part. And that's what the biggest part of this is, because you hear on so many shows, and I've been on a couple of shows with people kind of describing it this way. RICO is only for the mob because they go and kill people. Like, all right, no, duh, no, that has nothing to do with this. It's the intimidation that Sean Combs feasted on.
That's right.
I mean, the power, the intimidation, I got you wrapped in my hand because I will ruin your career. I'll pay you, keep your mouth shut, and if you don't, A, B, and C is going to happen to your career. That's it. End of discussion. Stop. Full stop.
Very similar to the Epstein case in that he was a powerful person, lots of money, lots of ability to make people's dreams come true. And he preyed upon that. And so he brought these women in. He did what he did. He made them do what he made them do. They went along for a variety of reasons, and you can blame the victim all day long if you want, but he's a master manipulator and a powerful guy.
Right.
I don't blame victims in cases like this. I blame the manipulator himself, and that's him.
Right.
He used his position. He leveraged it to do whatever he wanted, and he fed all of his sick, twisted, perverted fantasies, and he used people like rags and threw them to the curb. That's it. And he beat them. He threw them around. We saw video of him grabbing his girlfriend, trying to walk out of the hotel. I mean, this is not a nice guy. This is a guy for which laws like this were made. And you can look at this case and you can say, it's just his personal sexual peccadillos. He's a rich guy. He wants to have a harem. He can do what he wants. Yes and no, right? I mean, in America, we have freedoms of certain, but not the stuff that he was doing. He crossed lines. He crossed legal lines, and they're holding him to account for it.
And I've heard, and this is, this is an important part, I think. We heard, during the week that they were going to show, the videos of the freak offs and the hotel nights and all that to the jury, which is going to be very impactful for them. Mm-hmm. But you and me look at things a completely different way than just your regular jury. Because to me, and one of the points I brought up on another show was, yeah, you can watch the video, you know what you're watching. What is interested to me is the audio. Mm-hmm. I don't really care what I'm watching. I know what I'm watching. I want to hear someone get threatened. Mm-hmm. Hey, you're doing this, shut your mouth. Because then game's over.
That's coercion, that's violence, that's threats. Absolutely.
You don't finish this, you know what's going to happen.
Right.
You said no once before, that ain't happening again, whatever it is. I'm more interested in the audio of all those videos than what the video actually is.
Right. So prosecutors and detectives and people who make cases will look at these kind of cases and say, What are the elements of the crimes that he's being charged with? And that's what I read off to you before. Some of the elements: using threats, coercion, forming a criminal enterprise with others, taking part in illegal activities on an ongoing basis on a regular scale. That happened here. That is what's being proven in the courtroom. The media is picking up on the individual stories of, the girlfriend X said that he forced me to do this. Yeah, okay, and we look at it and we go, oh, it just sounds really weird. But at the end of the day, it's crime. He's committing crimes. He and his group of cohorts are committing crimes. Now, this is a guy who thinks he's immune. He's gotten away with stuff before. In New York City, they had that club shooting event years ago in the 90s. And I have a friend who I worked with that sat in that detective squad in Midtown South and overheard Diddy trying to convince one of his knucklehead friends to take the hit for the gun for $50,000 and the chain he was wearing. And that's fact. I believe this guy. And it was just, this is the kind of guy he is. He's a worm. He wants to get out of things, and he's gotten out of things, right?
Right. And, the most disheartening thing that I heard, that you go online and you hear, and we're going to throw a shout out to a dear friend of ours, Lauren Conlon. If anybody has any access to the reporting she's doing from down there is no one better than what she's doing every day down at that courthouse. Sitting in there, getting the information out. She is, besides a very dear friend of ours, she is such a pro at what she does. And a lot of the information, and thoughts we're getting are from her streaming it. But one of the things that drives me nuts is this is not, Sean Combs, no one cares about. All right, you heard, they're going after Sean Combs because no, there's no end game to getting him. It's about victims. And you hear and listen to Cassie Ventura talk and testify about what she went through. And you get people to go, oh, she should have just left and walked away.
Not so easy.
It ain't that easy. Especially when you have someone like Sean Combs who will destroy your career on vengeance, alone. Not to mention beat the hell out of you near an elevator if you try to leave.
Right.
All right, let's go there.
And how many times have we heard this story in our career and even on this show from people who've been groomed to participate in things they ordinarily never would have by somebody who lets them believe, I love you, I care about you. If you loved me, you would do this. I gave you so much. I paid for your rent. I bought you that dress. I bought you that car. That's the kind of crap he does. The same stuff Epstein did. I'll take care of you. You just do what I want you to do. And we've seen this again and again. He's not unusual. He's not,
And the thing is, he is absolute. There's no way he can profess or have love. He can't.
No.
These people who are involved, I love them, I love them, I love them. He could give a rat's ass about you. There's not a love piece in his body. Okay? For the simple fact is he has love contracts.
Yeah.
And as long as you hang out with me, I'll give you $10,000 a month.
Right. Well, he's a narcissistic sociopath, which means he can feel for nobody but himself, and he lives for his own personal enjoyment and fulfillment, and for others to tell him how great he is. And this is not an uncommon disorder among human beings. We've seen it many times, and that is becoming clear through what we're learning about him and this dark side of this whole world of him and his record company and the people he hangs around with in his orbit. He's a narcissist.
Right. And you had, this poor girl, Jane, witness today testifying about, not being able to say no. She testified that, there's things I can't say no to. That the amount of fear that has to be in you to say that is overwhelming.
Yep.
That the power that he had over these people, they didn't have a choice.
Right.
They did. Yeah, they did. You know what I mean, though. As far as their careers or whatever was going on at the time, and God knows what retribution would be, waiting for them on a physical level, if they tried to get out. And that was shown with Cassie trying to leave one night, in the hotel. That's what this guy was all into. And, you want the victims to get something out of this because there's so many. And how many, Dan, I said this the other day, how many we don't know about that are just too fearful to come forward.
Absolutely. This is not new for him. He's been doing this for years. The indictment alleges the events in question that are being charged started in 2009. That's 16 years ago.
Right.
And you can bet your bottom dollar before then he was involved in this kind of stuff too. This is just who he is. I mean, people don't just become that. Jeffrey Epstein didn't become Jeffrey Epstein. He's always been Jeffrey Epstein.
Right.
These people are who they are, and it's shocking in a certain way. But to people like us, it's not. He's just another deviant. He's just another psychotic person who happens to have a lot of money and power.
Right. And he graduated. You start off small, you start off as just a regular street hood, and then you graduate to some because why? You got away with the first thing. You get away with the second thing. You get away with the third thing, and then you just, all right, what else can I get into, get away with? And then it just takes off from there. And it's going to be really interesting what is going to happen going on. And the other thing I wanted to give our experiences with that a lot of people don't realize, and because they're waiting for this big bombshell and celebrities to show up and testify and all this, you know how many people already flipped? You know that, Dan. How many people that a lot of people in this country know their name and know who they are already got interviewed, already are CHS, which is confidential human source, number 00125.
I can imagine the sheer volume of what they call proffer sessions or queen for a day discussions with defense counsel, somebody who is looking at an indictment, who comes forward and says, I need to save my life, my career, my everything. What do you want to know? We want to know everything. And I can guarantee you people spilled their guts. I spent a lot of time in that building in the U.S. Attorney's Office writing until my hand fell off because people had to spill their guts on everything they knew. And there's no way that didn't happen in this case.
Oh, no doubt about it, because self-preservation is number one.
You're right.
That is number one. And I said this, joking around the day the indictments came down, the U.S. attorney just sat in his office or the team with just a phone in front of them. And it rang. They picked it up, went, yeah, Friday at 2. Click.
Yep.
The next phone rang. Friday at 4. Okay, next.
That's defense counsel calling in and arranging for proffer sessions for their cooperating defendants or soon-to-be indicted defendants. Trying to get ahead of the curve. First one in gets the best deal. That's how it works.
Yeah. Yep. The last one's always, hey, we already know that. See ya.
Yeah. You know what I find interesting or ironic about this whole thing? Sean Combs has put himself out for his whole career. I refuse to call him that other name. It just sounds ridiculous. He puts himself out as being this gangster kind of guy, this street kind of guy. He was raised in a middle-class environment in Mount Vernon and went to Mount St. Mary private Catholic high school in the Bronx.
Right.
This is not a kid from the Grand Concourse on 167th Street walking around with a gun in one pocket and crack in the other. This is not a street kid. He wants to pretend he is, but he's not.
Right. Yep. And it's going to be, it's one of those, you just can't wait till the end because I think he's done. I mean, that's just me. I just think the U.S. attorney, the Southern District's track record of being successful in these cases is overwhelming.
Yep.
And I don't see with the powerful testimony, that the prosecution's putting on. Now, listen, he's got a defense team of very talented people who are going to do everything they can for him. And that's their job. You can't hold that against them by any means because that's their job and that's the system. He can put a defense on and that's going to come out, but it's going to be interesting to see just what that actually is. Like, what's the excuse for all this?
There's only so much lipstick you can put on this pig, my friend. There's only so much. And no matter what they try to spin, those jurors are going to have that testimony of these people who have been broken by this experience. And that is powerful.
Yeah.
Very powerful. So.
Yep, it is.
Yep. Interesting case. Interesting case.
So what do you think? You think you got him? You think they got him?
I think they got him.
Okay.
I think they got him. I think he's going to look at a significant amount of time in a federal prison. And I think his story ends there. I could be wrong. But
all right. I mean, it's just, listen, we're just two guys who are watching it like everybody else. But again, my whole prediction hinges on what we know about Southern District. That's all. Now, are they found? Are they perfect? No. But just track record wise,
when they have a high profile name like this, they make sure they dot I's and cross T's all day long, and then have 12 other people do it. This is not hastily thrown together. No way.
No doubt. There's another one out there that's a little popular.
Yeah.
to say the least, in Karen Reed.
Yeah.
Talk
This
about
is
a soap opera, huh?
it is. This is a media darling case. They love this for a variety of reasons. Why do they love the case of a woman in Massachusetts allegedly backing up while she's drunk and hitting her boyfriend who died? On the surface, it sounds like a run-of-the-mill type of accident that happens all over the place.
Right.
They love it for a number of reasons, and let's explore some of those reasons. First, she's an attractive woman. And two, she loves the camera. So she helped create a lot of the reason why people are watching it because she loves the camera.
Right.
And
And John
last,
O'Keefe's a cop.
John O'Keefe's a cop, and there's been just enough incompetence and buffoonery and failure to do the police work properly on the local cops and everybody involved in this case, or at least the appearance of it, to create that illusion that maybe, just maybe, this poor girl is being framed by the cops. What do you think?
No. Like, I just no. I just listen again. I just said it about Sean Combs. The defense has a job to do, and we've heard not this case, Dan. Cases we've been involved with, the most
Oh, yeah,
outlandish
yeah,
defense theories and all that, and they picked one.
yeah.
And yeah, they left the bar and a bunch of guys from the house beat the hell out of him and killed him. I just drove away. It's I just don't, like you said, it's amazing that if you take him out, I think if you take him out of the picture of being a cop, no one knows about this case. No one
Well,
knows. The
no.
girlfriend ran over the boyfriend. They had a fight. He died. I mean,
It
I
might have
get
been,
it.
it might have been an episode on a true crime show at some point, but it certainly wouldn't be dominating the headlines like it is right now, right?
And the defense just rested today, so the jury's going to get it on Friday. And today was a lot of the car and backing up and the physical evidence of his body and the car and X-rays and all that. But there's one part of this I wanted to hit with you, and that was the horrible testimony of that one female cop, Kelly Devers, I think her name is. Oh God. I mean, they should take that and show it in every police academy in this country
Yeah.
of what not to do.
Right. How not
That was
to handle it.
horrible. Embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, but what's also embarrassing is nowadays if you're a cop or detective working on a case, you're involved in an incident that's potentially doesn't matter what it is. When you opine to other people in texts about the nature of a human being involved in the case or the potential suspect in it, you put down negative things about her, you are now tainted as a witness. You can't be objective. You can't be believed to be credible to not have a bias against that person. And the detective did that. I mean, they gave the defense just enough to call them the Keystone Cops, to call them the biased cops, to create the illusion. And that's a defense's role, right?
Yeah.
Create that doubt. And they are doing it because they were given the ammunition.
Right. I mean, you go back to, the detective you just talked about with the posts and you think at this point, when it comes to social media and posting on your phone, like guys would learn, like you're in the middle of a case, don't do that. I mean, that's like investigation, detective 101, trial prep.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I mean, that's a given. But you got him and you got, that one female who just, I lied. Or yeah, I didn't. And then comes up with the biggest attitude I've ever seen in the world, where you should have been the most humble person, just going, "Oh my God, hey, there's mea culpas. People make mistakes. Everybody here,
Right.
that's the thing with this. People make mistakes. We've been involved in so many, testimony, Dan, and trials that, sometimes trials don't go on for like a year or so. And you got to like rack your brain with some of the questions you get asked, like, oh, damn, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Mistakes get made during testimony. It's a matter of how you address it once it comes about or comes up, what actually happened.
Right. Do you own it, or do you pretend it didn't happen, or do you get pissed off and cop
Right.
an attitude and double down on it? That is where you kill your credibility. I have looked at juries before when I was testifying, and I said, you know what, I made a mistake. I realized I made a mistake. I corrected it, but I definitely made a mistake. And you look at them, and you can see them saying, okay, human
Right.
being.
Right.
But defenses, they love when you fight them on that. They love it because they know they got you now, right? A
Uh,
couple things about this case that really stand out to me, right? We talk about the experts that they brought in, the accident recreation experts and stuff, and all the work they did to recreate the stuff. And the defense is firm on this, the prosecution's firm on that. Okay. At the end of the day, her behaviors and her words speak a lot to it. The forensic, I mean, the evidence of the broken tail light found where it was found and all that other stuff, that's good evidence. But she leaves, she goes home. She is back later on looking with friends, and she allegedly says, this has all been testimony. What if he's dead? What if a plow hit him? Who says, what if a plow hit him?
Right.
And how about this? And she said, I don't remember anything from last night. We drank so much, I don't remember anything.
That everybody, that's called an alibi.
That's called an excuse. That's called,
right.
I don't know what happened. Did it happen? Trying to
Right.
minimize what happened. And maybe she didn't remember hitting him. She
Maybe.
could have, I mean, if she was blackout drunk, that's entirely possible. But the thing about her, one of the things about her that really gets to me, and it should be sticking out to the jury, is her behavior in the courtroom, just like Combs. It's like they own the room. She's in there so confident, trying to look good every day, has her head up, giving interviews, doing Netflix series.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
First of all, your attorney let you do that. That's crazy. Secondly, why are you throwing yourself out there so much? Because no matter how likable you think you are, there's people that are going to look at you and go, I don't like her.
Oh, no
Right
doubt.
away.
No doubt.
And that public opinion is going to reign supreme at some point because that jury heard. That jury knows. People always get on juries by saying, I didn't hear anything about this case. Nonsense. This is
Right.
a globally publicized case. You heard something.
Right.
And they have an opinion, whether they want to say it or not.
But she's looking at herself as a celebrity now. She's not a victim. She's not on trial. She's not a defendant. She's a celebrity.
Yeah.
And all she's looking at is what is going to happen with her when this is over. And you know what, Dan? As much as I said to you, or we just said to each other, about the Sean Combs case and our prediction, this one, dude, I got no idea.
You're right.
No clue where this is going to go.
This is the second trial. The first one was hung, hopelessly deadlocked. They now have a second trial. And the second trial, it's hard to get an idea for which way it's going. Every day, every witness, the media jumps and says, oh, damaging from the prosecution testimony today. Oh, the defense knocked the prosecution's case off the rails today. It's hard to tell. And you don't know what's in the minds of these 12 jurors. You don't know.
No, not at all. And you can't go by, I mean, we'd been there. Facial expressions or even the questions that are going to come out of the jury room once they get in there. You can't go by them. Which, they asked for that, so they're thinking this. Oh, no. Juries have a mind of their own.
That's right.
And what goes on in that room is sometimes really bizarre.
Yeah,
really.
Really detached from the evidence, that's for sure.
Really. The discussions and all that. But I had no idea how this is going to go. If it's, I don't.
At the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to the likability and believability of the defendant who's sitting 12 feet away from them or 20 feet away from them and sitting there day in and day out, hour after hour. How are they behaving? Are they laughing? Is this a joke to them? Are they upset? Are they distraught? Do they appear to be overwhelmed, or do they appear to be like loving the moment? I think she's loving the moment.
I mean, you see her when she walks out, when she's the camera, all that. I mean, it's she's like walking on a red carpet.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird. So,
but not surprising.
I wouldn't bet on this one either.
No,
I have no idea where it's going to go.
Not a shot. And the closing arguments are Friday. So they'll take the weekend. The judge will come in probably Monday, charge them, explain the world to them, which sometimes take as long as the trial.
Yeah.
The judge's, directions or instructions, I should say.
Charging the jury. It's a long process, and in a federal case like this, they have to go into all the elements of it. Not a federal case, I mean, all the elements of everything. And it's time consuming, but it's a legal necessity. So the jury hears before they go in the room, this is what you're supposed to be talking about and thinking about. Not anything ancillary. This. And so it's
Right.
good that they do that.
Yep. And you know what? I got asked about, like, a high profile case, and what do the detectives think? Like, what are they going through when all this is going on? And it's very odd, everybody. Our role is what it is.
Hmm.
We gather the evidence, we have enough to lock someone up, we lock them up, and then it takes over from there, and the collection of the evidence is all presented and all that. But when these cases go on, all you can do is say, hey, I did my job.
Yeah.
We came to the conclusion we came to. We're confident in that. Every detective that was involved in this case is going to think she did it because they locked her up.
Right. Yeah. There's a big inference that's made by somebody being arrested, placed in cuffs by the police. And it's generally, for a lot of people, oh, they must have done it. Look at her, she did it. And that's tough to avoid. And that's part of the reason why, defense attorneys will go crazy. They don't want their defendant out there. They don't want them saying anything. And I'm amazed that her counsels have let her talk as much as she unfettered access by camera people. It's unbelievable. It's crazy.
And you know what? There's some defense attorneys that let it because it humanizes her.
Yeah.
And they think that sometimes it makes her a regular person if she's out there expressing her thoughts or she's not hiding. What's better, a defendant standing there looking like she got no problem in the world, or covering her face and running to a car?
Yeah. You're right. It's a toss up. It really is.
It is. It is. And I think a lot depends on who the defendant is.
Yeah.
You got someone like Karen Reed who's pretty articulate, and all that, and can kind of pull the wool over your eyes if need be, if she wants to, other than just run into a car, So we will find out all those answers, though. That's for sure.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. And that's a case that we'll follow when
Yeah.
it wraps up, because there'll be a lot to discuss at that point. One more thing going on in the press we want to talk about. We talked about this. You can't avoid it, right? Once again, it's summertime. Once again, it's time for civil unrest. It's like predictable. Okay, it's getting warm out. It's time to riot. What's the reason to riot? Well, this year it's going to be we're going to riot about ICE, because ICE has the nerve to go out and enforce the law.
So let's burn our city down.
Yeah, and let's loot. Let's take. I've been wanting to get in that Adidas store for a while, and heck, I'm so ticked off about ICE arresting criminal illegal aliens. I'm going to get myself some sweatsuits and some sneakers, and that'll make me feel better. That's what we do.
It's so scary. It's just, you feel, like we have a different view of this because I put all the crap going on in the city, God, in either LA, Chicago, New York, wherever it might be. I feel for the cops. They're not robots, everyone. They're regular people. They have families. They have all this, who are now down there getting cinder blocks thrown at them,
Right.
and Molotov cocktails thrown at them. And why? Why? Because ICE agents are doing their job.
Well, let's back up for a second and look at this from 38,000 feet, right? This is organized, coordinated, well-funded, scripted, choreographed, all of it. These
Right.
people that are doing this are not upset citizens. These are paid agitators. We dealt with them in New York for years.
Right.
It's nothing new to us. We've
Right.
seen these people. They travel all over the world to do this kind of stuff, and they're slime, in my opinion. These are slimy people. These are trying to destabilize our communities, our society, our nation through this kind of crap. And it's for a reason. So you got the president who sends in the National Guard rather than let the city burn down to defend the cops and his ICE agents. And you got the governor of California saying he's got no right to do that. Are you kidding me?
Right.
I mean, we're in Twilight Zone time with this, right? This is like, and you're right. As a cop, how many times have we stood at a protest that became riots, became rock throwing, became stuff? Lots of times. And you feel for the cops because they aren't given a clear set of direction and mission at that point.
Right.
And a lot of times that mission is stand back and let it happen. Well, that's garbage. You don't send people out to stand back and let it happen when they're throwing rocks at you. They won't let them fully enforce the law. They won't bring enough people in. And that's the failure of leadership. So we have the powers to be that are on the side of the anarchists, which is what they are. It's domestic terrorism at this point. And then you got the powers to be running cities and states that are sending their people out and they love watching the news happen. Watch it happen. Let's see what happens.
Right.
Let's see how many things get burnt down. Whatever happens, they'll find a way to make it to their advantage. Except the people on the only innocent people in this are the cops standing on the street trying to do their job, protect that community and that city, and they're getting spit on, crap thrown at them. I'm sure there's going to be rounds fired. It's just a matter of time.
It's just a matter of time.
It's going.
That's going to happen. That's going to happen. And that's going to be a different level.
Right.
And I hope it doesn't. We all hope it doesn't, but it might be inevitable. But like you hit on a bait. We got a few minutes left, Dan, but you hit on a good point. Behind the scenes, you need the DOJ to go after who organized all this, who funded it, who paid for it. Like the agitators on the street, cops on the street, and everyone that's inside there will take care of them. The backstage people need to go after who put this all together, because this is orchestrated. You can tell it is.
That's right.
And that has to be brought down. Those people who funded it and are bringing in, pallets of bricks, and dropping them off at a certain location, and which is being seen. Those are the people they need to go after.
Yep, they have to go after them with the full force of the law. Now, I watched some videos from New York, and there's a bunch of cops trying to grab one rioter from a group, and the group is holding on and pushing the cops back. And all I could think when I watched that was every single person involved in that needs to get locked up.
Yeah.
And charged with a felony, period.
Right.
Riot, it's a felony. Lock them up, charge them with that, stop playing games, deny them bail. Enough is enough.
Right. Because the message has to be sent.
Right.
For the next one, because this ain't the last. So this is a subject. What's going on is we're gonna be talking about it a couple of times. On our new live show that we're doing. First one's in the books, Dan.
Yeah, fantastic. I love this kind of stuff. It gives us a chance to share our thoughts and our experience and what we've seen about these kind of cases. And appreciate it, Tom. You and I have great discussions about this kind of stuff, but when we watch what goes on, being able to share it with our audience and give them maybe a slightly different perspective, it's a lot of fun. We thank everybody for listening tonight. Anybody who tuned in or who's going to watch us down the road, thanks for supporting us at Gold Shields, but also thanks for giving Law and Disorder a try, because we have fun doing this kind of stuff, don't we?
No doubt. And, there's going to be a couple of weeks that we have a guest on, depending on what we're going to cover. We already have one we just discussed on that we're not telling anyone about, which is going to be, I literally cannot wait for that. I cannot, because I was on a show with her and
yeah.
I can't. I'm not even going to go there.
Just leave it. You'll love it. Don't miss it. That's all I can say.
So everyone, thank you for joining us on our premiere Law and Disorder show. Danny was great, and we'll see everybody soon. Don't forget thegoldshieldshow.com. Follow us, check us out on YouTube, all that. Got some great shows coming up, amazing interviews with the best guests around, and that's what makes our show. So don't forget, tune in to goldshieldshow.com and everything Gold Shields.
Yep, and pray for your cops. They're out there. They stand between you and anarchy sometimes, and that's what they're trying to do right now. Pray for them and support them, okay? That's all we ask.
Stay safe, everyone. We'll see everybody soon.
Take care.
Boom.
That was